Good evening. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III says overseas Filipino workers returning to Kuwait will only be allowed to depart after the Kuwaiti government signs the bilateral agreement with the Philippines. Here's why from Roderick Mendoza.
Mechanical technician Ray Viñas is returning to Kuwait next week. He has completed his documents, including his OAC or the Overseas Employment Certificate. He has been working in Kuwait for 1.5 years and returned home only last month to get married. But he has a problem now. The Department of Labor and Employment has imposed a total ban on the deployment of Filipino workers to Kuwait, including those who are just on a vacation like Ray.
Sana mabigyan po kami ng malinaw na tuntunin regarding po sa total ban na yan papunta Kuwait.
Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III says the Kuwaiti government should sign the bilateral agreement first before returning OFWs are allowed to leave for the Gulf country. He explains the agreement will provide for a just and sufficient protection for Filipino workers in Kuwait.
Isa doon halimbawa, yung passport ng ating mga OFW, pag nandun na sila, dapat hawak nila o kaya yung labor attaché natin. Hindi yung hawak ng employer nila. Kasi pag hawak ng employer nila yon, patay. Hawak na nila sa leg ang ating mga manggagawa.
DOLE is also not taking chances with fake returning OFWs. According to Secretary Bello, there are people who will take advantage of the situation if some of the returning workers are allowed to leave for Kuwait.
Pag pinayagan natin, siguradong dadagsa na yung mga mag-apply for yung pribilehyo ng mga balik manggagawa.
The Bureau of Immigration is strictly enforcing the deployment ban. Immigration Chief Jaime Morantes says BI personnel who will connive with escort syndicates in allowing OFWs leave for Kuwait will be dealt with severely. Meanwhile, Bello says they are still in the dark why the Kuwaiti government would not sign the bilateral agreement. The fate of returning OFWs like Ray Viñas, who is hoping to earn money for the family he just started, will be known tomorrow. As Secretary Bello says, they might already have the decision whether or not they will allow returning workers to leave for Kuwait. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV, News and Rescue, Manila.
President Rodrigo Duterte says the government will help and give a subsidy to overseas Filipino workers returning from Kuwait. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte once again expressed his anger over abuses of overseas Filipino workers in Kuwait during the oath-taking ceremony of newly appointed government officials in Malacanang this afternoon. The chief executive said the government is willing to do everything to help the Filipinos returning to the country from Kuwait.
I want a total ban. And they can come here and we'll have to support them. Ubusin natin itong pera natin ito. Hindi naman ito atin. Belongs to the people, or they will subsidize them.
He once again called out Kuwait for the abuses against OFWs of violent employers. The president also revealed that some Arabs wanted to talk to him on the issue of total deployment ban of OFWs to Kuwait.
Ngayon, nandiyan yung tatlong Arabo, gusto ko makausap. Kaya pag muuwi yan mga doktor, engineer, lahat bagsak yung ekonomi nila.
After his speech, the president met with the members of the consultative committee who will study the 1987 Philippine Constitution. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
The Philippine Competition Commission is now studying the issues on rice. The agency also warns the manipulators on the price of rice that they might be charged. Ray Pelayo will tell us why.
One of the sectors that the Philippine Competition Commission or PCC is focusing on is the agriculture, including the movement of rice prices. The National Food Authority already admits that the stock of NFA rice has already depleted, but the Department of Agriculture and the Office of the President are both resolute that there is no shortage of rice in the country. PCC was created in 2015 and its primary mandate is to ensure that there is a competition in the market.
Tinitingnan naman yung production, tinitingnan namin rin yung distribution, at saka paano siya naka-apekto sa merkado.
The The PCC warns businessmen who are involved or who plan to manipulate the supply and price of rice. Polinar says they may face a ₱1 million fine for the first offense with 5 to 7 years imprisonment.
Bawal na mag-uusap na mag-fix ng price. Bawal mag-uusap para i-manipulate ang bidding, for instance. Bawal sa mga competitors ang manipulate ng supply.
Meanwhile, the National Food Authority is now drafting measures on how to beef up their buffer stock, one of which is by way of encouraging rice farmers to sell their produce to the agency. The NFA Council earlier announced that the government-to-private mode of procurement will be used for the importation of 250,000 metric tons of NFA rice, which will arrive in the country in 2 to 3 months' time.
Kung saan mang lugar meron, anytime na may magbebenta na farmer, tinatanggap yun.
NFA assures that they still have enough supply of rice for relief operations in the country. Ray Pilayo, UNTV, News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Amid the continuous opposition of transport groups to the government's PUV modernization program, the Department of Transportation challenges the Stop and Go coalition to create a cheap but quality passenger jeepney. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Department of Transportation or DOTR Undersecretary for Road Transport Thomas Orbos and the President of the Transport Group Stop and Go Coalition June Magno faced off in the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon. They debated on the issue involving the administration's jeepney modernization program. Magno has once again insisted that old passenger jeepneys should just be rehabilitated since it is more affordable than buying a new unit which is worth ₱1 million. In response, Undersecretary Orbos dares the president of the transport group to create a modern jeepney that could be sold at a cheaper price.
So mapapatunayan po nila na talaga yung kanilang lumang sasakyan na i-convert nila lahat magko-comply. Pati yung height, pati yung likod, pati yung mga fleet management system.
Including yung engine.
Lahat ng yan.
So,
hindi natin tignan.
Pwede yan. Put it black and white. Gagawin namin
alam
yan.
nyo, gusto ko kasi matutukan to. Mula dun sa umpisa, kukuha tayo ng karag-karag na jeep.
Yes.
Yung pinaka-bulok na nakikita natin sa daan o kaya yung isa sa mga nahuli nyo siguro.
However, the DOTR insists that the jeepney unit the Stop and Go Coalition will produce should be compliant with the safety standards and specifications of the government's PUV modernization program. The modernization program's requirements include the installation of GPS, dash cams, CCTVs, as well as wider and more comfortable seats, automated fare collection system, and Euro 4 engines. It requires that jeepney units' entrance should be at the side of the driver and must have a PWD-friendly design. Other transport groups previously insisted on rehabilitating their old jeepneys instead of buying new units. This is despite the ₱80,000 worth of subsidy the government vows to provide to jeepney drivers and operators. Under the financing program, those who would avail will have to pay a 6% interest rate that they can pay for up to 7 years. The DOTR gives Magno 30 to 45 days to do the dare. The program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, meanwhile, will strictly monitor its development. Aiko Miguel, UNTV, News and Rescue, Philippines.
Several transport groups petition for fare increase amid the implementation of tax reform law. Meantime, some operators say they will not join Piston's transport strike on Monday. Mai Bermudez will tell us why.
The Southern Luzon Bus Operators Association, the nagkakaisang samahan ng nangangasiwa ng panlalawigang bus sa Pilipinas, and the Samahang Transport Operator ng Pilipinas ask for a new fare increase. This, they say, is an effect of the train law, which increased oil prices in the country. The groups ask for additional 3 peso and 30 centavo fare for the first 5 kilometers in Metro Manila for ordinary bus and 3 pesos and 95 centavos for air-conditioned buses. Jeepney operators such as Acto, Fedjudap, Pasang Mazda, and Eltop also asked for a 2 peso hike.
Doon din sa sistema, hindi lamang naman doon sa excise tax at saka doon sa train law na nakukuha at nababawasan ng aming kita, kundi nandyan din yung tinatawag natin na IBAT.
Ngayong umaga, humirit din sila doon sa epekto ng train law. Sabi namin, hindi naman kasali yan yung batas na sinasabi nila, hindi naman kasama doon sa original petition na final nila.
The LTFRB advised the groups to submit amendments to their petition to include the effects of train law in the basis of their request. Meanwhile, several jeepney operators say they will not join Piston in its transport strike on Monday, February 19, which opposes the Tanggal Bulok, Tanggal Uso campaign of LTFRB.
Number one ay yung transport strike ng Piston, hindi namin masyadong maunawaan kung ano yung kanilang tinatawag na ini-strike. Dahil alam naman natin na nagkaroon talaga ng programa na pinag-aaralan pa hanggang ngayon.
Ay, alam mo naman yung Piston, medyo katotohanan lang apektado yung buong jeep modernization because of the actuation of Piston.
Despite Piston's opposition, LTFRB will still continue its Tanggal Bulok, Tanggal Uso campaign to eradicate old vehicles in the metro.
Tuloy pa rin po yung kampanya ng Tanggal Usok, Tanggal Bulok despite the opposition. Kasi alam naman din ng taong bayan, no? Alam ng karamihan na this is the only way to go.
Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DNR, orders the closure of some establishments in Boracay starting today. Here's why from Leslie Longbowen.
40% or around 300 establishments in Boracay were found to have been causing water pollution as they failed to comply with the country's sewerage regulations, according to Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DENR Secretary Roy Cimatu. With this, the DENR chief announced today the closure of non-compliant establishments in the famous tourist destination.
Meron kaming listahan na yung mga non-compliant na hindi sila nakakonekta, yung kanilang tubig ay bumubuhos na lang doon. Ito na ngayon ang unahin ko.
President Rodrigo Duterte initially blamed the local officials of Boracay for allowing some commercial establishments to operate in the island but not monitoring if they follow sewerage regulations. Meanwhile, Cimatu accepts the president's challenge to complete the cleanup and rehabilitation of Boracay within 6 months.
Finish or unfinished, pass your paper. Parang ganun lang naman sa akin gagawin Ang ibig sabihin, I have to do my best to complete it in 6 months.
Cimatu made the announcement during the launching of the Green Film Festival this year, where he detailed the major challenges being faced by the agency, including air pollution, as well as the cleanup of the polluted Manila Bay and proper enforcement of solid waste management. Leslie Lomboan, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Mayor Maria Isabel Climaco Salazar has declared a measles outbreak in Zamboanga City. The local health office has recorded 101 suspected measles cases during the first 4 weeks of the year, a 1,343% increase in the number of cases as compared to the same period last year. The city's health officer, Dr. Dulce Amor Dagalea Miravite, said the number of cases is above the outbreak threshold level, thus the declaration. Dr. Miravite says it is noted that the highest proportion of cases has no history of immunization.
Pwede din kasi yung mga walang immunization galing sa ibang lugar, pumunta sa Zamboanga City.
At least 34 of the 101 cases belong to the 1 to 5 years age group. The order directed the City Health Office to institute, undertake, and implement preventive and proactive measures to effectively address the outbreak. Tropical Depression Bashang has affected daily operations in ports. Meanwhile, a landslide has left a father alone and homeless in Surigao del Sur. Here's why from Mai Bermudez.
3 family members were killed in a landslide in Cascal, Surigao del Sur this morning. They were identified as Irene Benguilo and her children 6-year-old AJ and 3-year-old MJ. Irene's husband James, the sole survivor in the tragedy, is now recuperating in the hospital. Meanwhile, Puyo Bridge in Habonga, Agusan del Norte, as well as the Mahayahay Footbridge in Kitcharao are now closed after sustaining damages from the continuous rains and floods. The provincial governments of Surigao del Norte and Surigao del Sur set up 17 evacuation centers to accommodate nearly 2,000 evacuees.
Tuloy-tuloy po na koordinasyon sa ating mga regional councils, yung pagsisiguro ng ating mga ibibigay na ayuda, yung ating family food packs.
Residents in landslide-prone areas, particularly in Barangay Gamuton in Surigao City, are advised to evacuate as well.
Hanggang sa kasalukuyan po, nakataas pa rin ang ating red alert status dito sa ating NDRRM Operations Center at maigting ang ating binibigay na abiso, babala at mensahe para sa ating mga kababayan. Tuloy yung ating mga emergency alert and warning messages.
Over 200 passengers are now stranded in Rojas Port in Oriental Mindoro, bound for Caticlan and Odiongan, Romblon. The Philippine Coast Guard also boards fast craft and motor bankas in Batangas, bound for Puerto Galera and Calapan, Oriental Mindoro, to sail due to the inclement weather.
Nag-cancel na rin po sir lahat ng biyahe papunta ng Caticlan dahil may signal number 1 na po ang Iloilo. Kaya may mga early cancellation tayo dahil para maiwasan natin na abutan sila sa gitna, lalo na yung mga malalayong biyahe.
Mai Bermudez, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Wishful and Kulala, among other Wish Covery finalists, is determined to win the upcoming Wish Covery Grand Finals. Leslie Longbowen will tell us why.
The rising star of Bulacan, Louie Ann Kulala, proves her amazing talent in singing during her hometown concert in San Ildefonso Gymnasium, Bulacan last night. Louie Ann reminisced her Wish Covery journey through the songs that brought her to the grand finals.
Sobrang napapataas po nito yung self-confidence ko and parang mas lumalakas yung feeling ko na may laban ako sa Grand Finals because of those people na sumusuporta po sa akin.
Louie Ann is known for her powerful and versatile vocals, but she vows to show more in the Wish Covery Grand Finals.
Mas magpapakita po ako ng aking vocal ability sa kanila. So, sana abangan nila yung magiging performance ko.
Aside from her supportive fellow Bulacanos, the most proud of all for her achievement is her dad who taught her how to sing.
Happy ako Kasi, kumbaga, parang nakikita ko yung pinagpaguran ko sa kanya. Buhat nung maliit siya hanggang ngayon. Alam mo naman, 101% nandito ako Yung support ko sa'yo, hindi mawawala yan.
Aside from a mini concert, Louie Ann also led the conduct of a medical mission for senior citizens in her home province.
Ay nagpapasalamat ang buong bayan ng San Ildefonso sa mabuti niyang kalooban at wish ng buong bayan na siya'y magtagumpay bilang isang sikat na mga awit.
Meanwhile, Wish 1075 granted some wishes to express its gratitude for having 2 million YouTube subscribers.
Marami pong gastusin, kaya hindi po kayang isabay. Naisipan ko po na i-wish yung gitara. Maraming salamat po kasi yung bagay po na hindi ko po ine-expect na ibibigay sa akin, nangyari po.
Medyo gipit nga kami, hindi namin mabilan ng TV. Yung mother ko, doon nakikinood sa kapitbahay. Wish, salamat, maraming salamat talaga sa inyo. So hindi ko inaasahan na kayo pa yung magiging dahilan para mabigay ko sa mother ko yung wish na yun.
Leslie Longbowen, UNTV News and Rescue, Bulacan.
Next on Y News. Davao City declares Senator Antonio Trillanes IV persona non grata. The Office of the Civil Defense Western Visayas on blue alert status due to tropical depression, Bashang. Y News will be right back in a short while. Meanwhile, I'm Darlene Basingan. Stay tuned for Angelo III. Good evening.
Mayor Paint. With Mayor, you paint more while you pay less.
Hey everyone! This is Morissette and you are all invited to my first ever solo concert at the Araneta Coliseum. Save the date on Feb 20, 2018.
Congratulations, William Thio, for receiving the World-Class Filipino Award for News and Public Service Broadcasting. This award acknowledges his accomplishments in the field of broadcasting and public service. To God be the glory!
Handang magsaliksik upang mangalap ng balita.
Handang magsiyasat
para malaman ang totoo.
At handang tumulong sa kapwa.
Nakukuha ang dengue mula sa lamok na Aedes aegypti. Kailangan ng magpatingin sa doktor kung nilalagnat ng mataas sa loob ng 2 araw kasabay ng pagsakit ng ulo, mata at kasukasuan, pagsusuka, paglabas ng rashes at pagdugo ng gilagid o ilong. Para sa iba pang healthcare tips, palaging manood ng UNTV, your public service channel.
On Y News tonight, the Labor Department announces that flights of returning Filipino workers to Kuwait remain on hold unless Kuwait signs a bilateral agreement with the Philippines. Davao City declares Senator Antonio Trillanes the 4th persona non grata. The Department of Health strictly monitors cases of malnutrition in Albay evacuation centers. Good evening. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III says overseas Filipino workers returning to Kuwait will only be allowed to depart after the Kuwaiti government has signed the bilateral agreement with the Philippines. Bello says that agreement will provide for a just and sufficient protection for Filipino workers in Kuwait.
Isa doon halimbawa, yung passport ng ating mga OFW, pag nandun na sila, dapat hawak nila o kaya yung labor attaché natin. Hindi yung hawak ng employer nila. Kasi pag hawak ng employer nila yon, patay. Hawak na nila sa leg ang ating mga manggagawa.
Meanwhile, the Philippine Competition Commission is now studying the issues on rice, particularly the movement of its price in the market. The agency wants to guarantee that its mandate to ensure that fair competition in the market is maintained. The PCC warns businessmen who are involved or who plan to manipulate the supply and price of rice that they may face a ₱1 million fine for the first offense with 5 to 7 years imprisonment. Department of Health Region 5 strictly monitors the cases of malnutrition at evacuation centers in Albay. Here's why from Leslie Longbowen.
The Department of Health or DOH Region 5 admits being unsure of whether or not people, especially children at evacuation centers, receive proper nutrition, especially since each family only rely on relief goods being distributed by the local government of Albay. Earlier, the DOH launched at the Bantayan National High School in Tabaco City the 1 Egg a Day is OK program to address the nutritional needs of evacuees. Each baby aged 6 months up to 4 years old, pregnant women, lactating mothers, and senior citizens were fed with 1 egg.
1 egg is pang supplement natin para makumpleto yung nutritional requirements din ng ating mga vulnerable population.
This program aims to prevent the number of malnourished children to further rise. There are 75 malnourished children and infants from 56 evacuation centers in Albay. One of them is the baby of Maria Sheila Maquinto of Barangay Buhian, Tabaco City, who is currently 8 months pregnant. Maquinto admits she is not sure if her 1-year-old baby receives proper nutrition. Aside from being feeble, her baby also becomes sickly inside evacuation centers. Aside from Sheila, the DOH targets to feed eggs 3 times a week to 14,000 children, pregnant women, and elderly staying at evacuation centers.
So every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I-deliver po yung mga boiled eggs na po dun sa lahat ng mga evacuation centers.
Tomorrow, the agency will feed evacuees at the 56 evacuation centers. Leslie Longboan, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Davao City has declared Senator Antonio Trillanes IV as persona non grata. Rajel Adora will tell us why.
Hindi po siya kailangan dito. Hindi po siya welcome dito sa ating syudad.
By virtue of Council Resolution, Senator Antonio Trillanes IV was declared persona non grata in Davao City. This following a statement made by the senator in a press conference in Chicago, where he said Davao City is the most dangerous city in the whole Philippines. Davao City Vice Mayor Bernard Al-Ag says Trillanes is mistaken with his claim, as the city has been a recipient of a Seal of Good Governance Award granted by the Department of the Interior and Local Government in the years 2011 and 2015.
That he come here without his bodyguard, and I can assure him that he will feel safe here in the city.
Trillanes, however, says he based his statement on a PNP 2015 data showing Davao City recording the highest number of murder cases and ranking second in the most number of rape cases. He believes that Davao City residents are aware of this but were just letting it be due to fear or due to the fact that they were brainwashed that they live in the safest city in the world. When asked to react on this development, Presidential Spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque has this to say.
I do not know how you want me to react because this has nothing to do with the President and I speak for the President, no? Other than congratulations to Davao City.
Rajel Adora, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Office of the Solicitor General is now studying the possible charges it could file against Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales. Here's why from Aiko Miguel.
Government allies accuses Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales of concealing the investigation she conducted in connection with the plunder complaint filed by Senator Antonio Trillanes IV against President Rodrigo Duterte. The Ombudsman completed the said investigation in November of last year, but informed the Solicitor General about it only yesterday. With this, the Office of the Solicitor General is studying the possible charges it could file against Morales. The plunder complaint stemmed from the alleged hidden wealth of the president.
This will be another case probably before the Supreme Court, and I'll be the one to argue. Well, remember, the president is the chief executive. Anyone who does not agree with him should go to court, and we will meet him there.
Solgen Jose Calida claims he would not learn of the said decision if he did not write a letter to the Ombudsman last Friday to know the status of the complaint. Based on the reply of Overall Deputy Ombudsman Melchor Arthur Carandang yesterday, the complaint was already case closed and terminated since November 29 of last year. According to Calida, the President has the right to know the status of the complaint.
It should be noted that Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales inhibited herself from this matter. It concerns the integrity of the President of the Philippines. She should explain first why she kept this from the public.
With this development, Calida believes the Senate has no reason to investigate the allegations against the President. In response, opposition members Senator Antonio Trillanes IV and Congressman Gary Alejano have this to say.
Bakit sila nagpapanik? Bakit ayaw nilang mapahiya ako, no? And most of all, bakit ayaw pirmahan ni Duterte yung waiver? Ayaw niya tanggapin yung hamon ko. Pirmahan niya yung waiver. Pag mali ako, magre-resign ako eh.
I think I'm confident that the Ombudsman would find out and prove that indeed the bank account transaction records of Duterte are true and correct. So it's just a matter of time.
Ombudsman Morales has yet to comment on the matter. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue, Makati City.
The Department of Finance asks Congress to give details on the fiscal autonomy and taxation under the proposed Bangsamoro Basic Law. Here's why from Nel Maribohok.
Today's Senate deliberation for the passage of the Bangsamoro Basic Law centered on the issue on the Bangsamoro region's autonomy on fiscal and taxation aspects. Department of Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez says the national government cannot just let go of the important programs and easily hand them over to the administration of the Bangsamoro region. Dominguez cites the health and agriculture sectors in particular.
As far as I know, the health and agriculture sectors as devolved, or the functions as devolved, hardly improve the health status in the different regions or different provinces, hardly improve the agricultural production.
The Secretary also says it is important to have transparency in the 72 billion peso black grant per year to the Bangsamoro government.
And if the people there don't agree on that this money is being spent correctly, then we will have a problem.
Dominguez adds that the Congress should also clarify the issue on taxation.
That the differentiation between national taxes and local taxes are very, very clear, so that there is no confusion. I think the law is not very clear on that. I think there is some gray areas.
The chairman of the Senate Subcommittee on BBL, Senator Juan Miguel Zubiri, assures that the finance management will remain in the power of the Bangsamoro government.
Ibibigay natin po yung power na yan sa Bangsamoro Parliament kasi pangit naman, didikta na naman muli tayo.
The Senate targets to approve the BBL before the session break in March. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Senate of the Philippines.
The House of Representatives has started its investigation on the reported lavish Christmas party of the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office. PCSO General Manager Alexander Balutan, however, maintains that there was no anomaly in the spendings made for the said event. Grace Casin will tell us why.
PCSO board member Sandra Cam went emotional in the House of Representatives investigation on the lavish Christmas party of the agency. Cam says the PCSO board asked for a 10 million peso budget for the Christmas party that was held in an expensive hotel in 2017, despite the fact that many of poor Filipinos have been patiently waiting in line every day at the PCSO asking for financial help. She adds the money should have been given to the victims of Typhoon Orduha and for medical assistance for the poor.
I fully disagree with GM Balutan regarding the lavish Christmas party.
But PCSO General Manager Alexander Balutan says there is no anomaly in the said spending. He emphasized DBM even approved a 14 million pesos fund for the said event. They did not get the money from the charity fund but from the maintenance and other operating expenses or MOOE of the agency. According to Balutan, they even saved a lot because their actual expenses was only 6 million pesos and the 3 million pesos saving was returned to the treasury.
And there is a post-audit ng ating COA, resident COA.
Meanwhile, Committee on Good Government Chairman Johnny Pimentel questioned the 16,000 peso service fee given to the priest during their Thanksgiving Mass as part of their event.
You cannot use government money to be given to the church. That's clearly stipulated in the Constitution. Bawal na bawal po yun. Nasa separation of powers po yun.
The committee invited a commission on audit for the next hearing to determine the possible violations of the PCSO. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, House of Representatives.
Office of the Civil Defense Western Visayas is now on blue alert status. Here's why from Rosalie Cos.
The Cebu Provincial Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office or PDRRMO continues to monitor areas affected by the onslaught of Tropical Depression Bashang. Among the places the PDRRMO monitors are the municipalities of Moalboal and Boljun. Some areas in these municipalities are considered landslide and flood prone.
So this time, atong gipaduol ang atong responders by bringing them closer to the strategic local government unit para maposisyon na dito, mas dali na. So ang travel time makat off na siya.
Meanwhile, the local government continues to monitor the water level in rivers in Negros Occidental. Based on the figures of the PDRRMO, the water level in most rivers in the province are still normal except in the Bago Morsha Bridge where the water level is at 3.78 meters and the Bago Bridge where the water level is at 3.61 meters.
Pray and prepare. In case may evacuation, let's heed to the call of our local DRRM offices.
Classes have been suspended in some parts of Western Visayas. Areas with class suspension include Aklan, Capiz, Antique, Iloilo, Guimaras, Negros Occidental, and Negros Oriental. Meanwhile, Office of the Civil Defense Western Visayas is now on a blue alert status. This means concerned agencies are strictly monitoring the situation in the entire region, particularly the residents living in coast and river banks as well as those in mountainous areas due to possibility of landslide and continuous rainfall. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
In Tonga, emergency services in Tonga were working to reopen roads on Tuesday and assess what assistance they may need after Cyclone Gita tore across the Pacific island nation in the middle of the night. Video showed extensive flooding and damaged buildings as well as a destroyed Parliament House in the capital Nuku'alofa. There were no confirmed reports of deaths from the Category 4 storm, but there were a lot of injured people according to Tonga's National Emergency Management Office. Electricity and communications to many parts of the country were cut. The storm is now tracking towards Fiji's southern islands. In the United Kingdom, the British Royal Navy worked with London's Metropolitan Police on Monday to remove a 500-kilogram World War II ordnance found in River Thames. All flights to and from London City Airport were cancelled on Monday after the unexploded bomb was found. Police said the bomb was found during work at the airport on Sunday, after which they set up a 200-meter exclusion zone. The Metropolitan Police said properties within the exclusion zone had been evacuated and a number of roads were cordoned off. And in China, a magnitude 4.3 earthquake hit an area in China's Hebei province near the southern border of Beijing on Monday evening. China's Earthquake Network Center said the quake struck Yongqing County in Langfang City at 6 in the evening. Tremors were felt in the center of Beijing, some 62 kilometers to the north of the epicenter. Railway authorities suspended passenger trains passing through Yongqing in order to give them time to check the rails in the region. The China Earthquake Administration held a video conference with CENC as well as the earthquake authorities of Hebei, Beijing, and Tianjin to assess the damages.
Up next on Y News. Mines and Geosciences Bureau updates geohazard map around Mount Mayon. Affected residents to face relocation. The Bureau of Customs sets to destroy 22 remaining luxury cars amounting to 133 million pesos. Those are the reasons behind the news, February 13, 2018. I'm Angelo Castro III. Stay tuned for William Thio. Good evening.
Here are the headlines on Y News Tonight. The Labor Department announces that flights of returning Filipino workers to Kuwait remain on hold unless Kuwait signs a bilateral agreement with the Philippines. The Philippine Competition Commission warns rice traders of million-peso fine if proven involved in rice price manipulation. And for the first time in nearly 5 years, U.S. Senate debates on the future of dreamer immigrants. Good evening. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III says overseas Filipino workers returning to Kuwait will only be allowed to depart after the Kuwaiti government has signed the bilateral agreement with the Philippines. Bello says the agreement will provide for a just and sufficient protection for Filipino workers in Kuwait.
Isa doon halimbawa, yung passport ng ating mga OFW, pag nandun na sila, dapat hawak nila o kaya yung labor attaché natin. Hindi yung hawak ng employer nila. Kasi pag hawak ng employer nila yon, patay. Hawak na nila sa leg ang ating mga manggagawa.
Meanwhile, the new batch of overseas Filipino workers from Kuwait arrives today at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport Terminal 1 on board the Etihad Airways flight number 424. They are part of the repatriation program that the Philippine government has started for undocumented workers who availed of the Kuwaiti government's amnesty program. They were met by the personnel of the Philippine Overseas Employment Administration's, the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, and the Department of Foreign Affairs. President Rodrigo Duterte says the government will help and subsidize the overseas Filipino workers returning from Kuwait.
I want a total ban. And they can come here and we'll have to support them. Ubusin natin itong pera natin na ito. Hindi naman ito atin. Belongs to the people. Oh, they will subsidize them.
In other news, the remains of Melody Albano de Castro, the Filipina caregiver who died in the earthquake in Taiwan, will arrive at 9:40 in the morning tomorrow on board China Airlines Flight CI-701 at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. According to Philcom Hualien Chapter President Loida Flor Jane Hu, the Manila Economic and Cultural Office, or MECO, is expediting the process of repatriation of Melody's remains. MECO decided to send her remains home because her kin has no travel documents to fly to Taiwan to claim her body. The Philippine Competition Commission is now studying the issues on rice, particularly the movement of its price in the market. The agency wants to guarantee that its mandate to ensure that fair competition in the market is maintained. The PCC warns businessmen who are involved or who plan to manipulate the supply and price of rice that they may face 100 million pesos fine for the first offense with 5 to 7 years imprisonment. And residents in areas that will be covered by the updated geohazard map of the government might face relocation. Mon Hokson will tell us why.
Unang-unang punta mo sa isang lugar, hanapin mo kaagad yung hanap buhay. Kasi paano ang pamilya mo kung basta-basta ka lang lilipat doon? Wala naman silang ibibigay ng panghanap buhay. Magugot ang pamilya mo. Hindi ako alis.
This is how Jose Oera, a farmer in the province of Albay, see his family's present situation. For more than 40 years now, Jose has been supporting his family through farming. The soil around the volcano is loamy, which is ideal for planting vegetables. Oera's farm in the town of Ginobatan is covered by the extended 8-kilometer danger zone around Mount Mayon. However, they might face relocation once the Department of Environment and Natural Resources, or DNR, Mines and Geosciences Bureau, updates its geohazard map around the volcano. Due to the huge amount of lava spewed by Mount Mayon, the DNR sees possible changes in the direction of a lahar flow.
Pwedeng makasira ito sa ating mga kakabuhayan, yung bahay o yung mismong buhay.
The updated geohazard map is one of the bases of the government in deciding what activity should be conducted within the permanent danger zone of Mount Mayon. The surrounding area of Mount Mayon is considered as quote a no man's land. However, many still farm and live here. According to the President's emissary to Albay, Secretary Francis Tolentino, there are farmers who own lands with title. He explains this is one of the matters that should be considered in case the government pushes through with relocating residents located at danger zones.
Babayaran para ma-relocate sila at saka i-consider din natin na yung areas na yun ay very fertile in terms of agriculture. So, yun yung mga pag-aaralan.
According to the DNR, if the updated geohazard map will be followed, the government could save money since there would be no need to evacuate residents every time Mount Mayon erupts. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue, Ginobatan, Albay.
Meanwhile, the Bureau of Customs sets to destroy a new batch of luxury cars amounting to 133 million pesos. Rajel Adora will tell us why.
The Bureau of Customs is just awaiting the court's decision on the fate of the 22 remaining smuggled luxury vehicles amounting to 133 million pesos at the Manila International Container Port. The BOC is all set to destroy the said vehicles like what they did on the 30 high-end vehicles it earlier destroyed in front of President Rodrigo Duterte. BOC Commissioner Isidro La Peña believes that the government will benefit more if the said cars will be destroyed rather than having them in an auction.
Syndicated din yung auction na yan eh. Yes. Mag-usap-usap sila eh. And then yung presyo, ang highest bidder will just be siguro mga 1/4 of the price.
La Peña says this move will discourage the smugglers. The BOC once again showed the smuggled cars to the members of the media. The 22 high-end cars are as follows: 3 units of Range Rovers amounting to 25.5 million pesos, 2 Chevrolet Camaros worth 8.2 million pesos, 12 Toyota Land Cruisers valued at 58.8 million pesos, 1 McLaren costing 14.8 million pesos, 1 Ferrari amounting to more than 4 million pesos, 1 Lamborghini Murcielago that cost 8.1 million pesos, Lamborghini Gallardo costing 6 million, and a Rolls-Royce that cost 8.1 million pesos. Meanwhile, the accreditation of the consignees of the smuggled luxury vehicles had been revoked by the Bureau. The destroyed luxury vehicles will be sold as scrap. Rogel Adora, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Expect rains brought by Tropical Depression Bashang in different parts of the country until Thursday. Tell us why, Leslie.
Yes, William, Tropical Depression Bashang has slowed down slightly and is about to make landfall in the southern tip of Cebu. At 7 p.m. today, the center of Bashang was located at 45 kilometers east-northeast of Dumaguete City, Negros Oriental. It has maximum sustained winds of 45 kilometers per hour and gustiness of up to 65 kilometers per hour as it moves westward at 26 kilometers per hour. Signal number 1 is raised over Palawan, and including Calamian and Cuyo groups of islands, Aklan, Capiz, Antique, Iloilo, Guimaras, Negros Occidental, Negros Oriental, Siquijor, Bohol, Cebu, Biliran, Leyte, Camiguin, Misamis Oriental, Misamis Occidental, and northern section of Zamboanga del Norte. Strong to gale force winds associated with a surge of northeast monsoon and tropical depression Bashang are expected to affect the seaboards of northern Luzon and the eastern seaboard of central Luzon, seaboards of Visayas, and eastern seaboard of Mindanao. Bashang is expected to exit the Philippine area of responsibility by Thursday afternoon. Meanwhile, Cagayan Valley Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, and Quezon will be under cloudy skies with scattered light rains due to northeast monsoon, while Metro Manila and the rest of Luzon will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rains. That's the weather forecast. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Leslie Longbowen from the UNTV Weather Center. The U.S. Senate began a major free-for-all immigration debate. Its first in nearly 5 years on Monday evening that could decide the fate of the 700,000 Dreamer immigrants. They are the young people brought into the country illegally years ago as children. Under an order issued last year by Republican President Donald Trump, the Dreamers could be deported after March 5, a deadline that will loom behind the rare Senate debate in which no single bill will be the centerpiece and a range of ideas will be in play. By forcing the deadline on Congress with his September order, Trump drove a sharp wedge between Democrats and Republicans on an emotionally charged issue.
Now's the time to back up the talk with the hard work of finding a workable solution.
Rather, this is the moment for a narrow bill, and every ounce of our energy is going into finding one that can pass.
U.S. President Donald Trump unveils a plan to stimulate infrastructure improvements which admin officials believed to an uphill battle. Here's why from Beverly Saison.
U.S. President Donald Trump unveiled a long-awaited infrastructure plan on Monday that asked the U.S. Congress to authorize $200 billion over 10 years to stimulate $1.5 trillion in improvements paid for by states, localities, and private investors.
I submitted legislative principles to Congress that will spur the biggest and boldest infrastructure investment in American history. The framework will generate an unprecedented $1.5 to $1.7 trillion investment in American infrastructure.
The plan would reshape how the federal government funds roads, bridges, highways, and other infrastructure projects. If it comes to fruition, many Americans would face higher local taxes, fees, and tolls. The administration called the proposal a starting point for negotiations.
One of the reasons we like the public-private is we'll get some of that involved in getting these things done quickly, much more rapidly than you would get them done as a government, as good as some of these governments are.
Legislation for Trump's infrastructure proposal would need 60 votes for passage in the 100-seat Senate, but the Republicans holding only a 51 to 49 majority, they would need some Democratic support for passage. The president is set to meet with congressional leaders on Wednesday on the proposal. Trump will head to the Orlando, Florida area on Friday to sell the plan to the public. Beverly Saison, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
A daring racer defies gravity and drives upstairs to China's Heaven's Gate. Meanwhile, gamekeepers in Scotland brace the cold weather to save a working dog. Here's why from Nina Armilio.
A Patterdale Terrier named Charlie was pulled to safety after a 72-hour rescue operation in Highland, Scotland on Saturday. Working dog Charlie, who disappeared down a hole during fox control, was wearing his tracking collar at the time, so he was easy to locate. The mammoth rescue operation took 7 gamekeepers from Angus Glen's Moorland Group 3 days to cut through 12.5 feet of rock using drills and a rock breaker. Charlie was treated to a steak pie for dinner by his owner and is doing remarkably well, according to Angus Glen's Moorland Group in a Facebook post. Meanwhile, Formula E driver Ho Pin Tung achieved a daring feat in China when he drove a Range Rover car up one of China's most well-known landmarks at Tianmen Mountain. The Panasonic Jaguar racing driver started out by driving along the 11.3 kilometers Tianmen Mountain Road, known as the Dragon Road, in Hunan Province, before arriving at the foot of the stairs leading to Heaven's Gate. Chinese racer Pin Tung was then faced with the daunting climb of the 999 steps leading to the natural arch of Heaven's Gate. Pin Tung was successful in his climb, breathed a sigh of relief at reaching the top of the stairway, and celebrated becoming the first vehicle to ever achieve the feat. Nina Armilio, UNTV, News and Rescue.
Those are the reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.